Hi, how's it going? This is Resident of Collinwood for YouTube, back with another Dark Shadows video for you guys and gals. I'm here to give my reaction review to episode 74. This by the way, this is written by Art Wallace, directed by John Sedgwick. This starts off, no, not at Collinwood, in Burke's hotel room. You're not always going to get the same place to start off with. I'm not meaning the Seaview Terrace or Carey Mansion, whatever you'd like to call it. That is going to be your opening backdrop for these episodes, but it's going to cut to the hotel room, and then you're going to go diner slash hotel room, and Burke walks into his hotel room, and who's there waiting for him? David. And this is, to me, is one of the most interesting conversations David and Burke have up until this point, because it's a very Does Burke believe in the ghost of Collinwood? Not necessarily ghost. Because him and David have this conversation where David is telling him about what his Aunt Elizabeth thinks about him. Not that Aunt Elizabeth thinks he killed Bill Malloy, but I told her you couldn't have killed Bill Malloy. And Burke doesn't really buy this, I don't think. And here's why I see why. When David says, I know who killed Bill Malloy, they told me. Who told you? The voices, my crystal ball. And that, because what David tells Burke is that, Roger, David's dad killed him. Sorry, David's dad. Yeah, sorry. Burke saying, you're really lonely in that old house, aren't you? Meaning, look, David has no one to play with. There's no other kids in that house. He, in Burke's mind, this is David's imagination, not running, beyond running away with it, right? Or is it? Is David's imagination running away from it? As much as I'd like to say yes and no, before I get into the rest of this episode, because this episode deals, a lot of Dark Shadows episodes deal on emotions, but you sort of have to talk about David here. Is David really hearing voices that his father killed Bill Malloy? We don't know. We never really hear those voices, and as much as I'd love to humor David on this and say, yeah, ghosts are telling him, no, I don't think that's the case here. I think this is a case of, look, if David hasn't proven that he'll do anything to get rid of his dad by now, I don't know what much more else I can say to convince you. Here's a kid who tried to remove did remove his dad's bleeder valve from his car. He tried to kill him, for God's sake. What more can you say than that? And then he's saying, well, now, I'm not saying that David going to people and saying, Ghost told me that my dad killed Bill Malloy is evidence. It's not. No sheriff, let alone judge, would accept that in their sane mind, in their right mind. They just wouldn't do it. So this is just another way of the writer showing, hey, David just hates his dad. And Burke can see that. Burke's not foolish. He's not stupid. I think sometimes we can, especially when you're watching DS, you wonder how bad Burke's vendetta is against Roger. It's not so bad that Burke is foolish, meaning it's not so bad that Burke's going to listen to a kid whose imagination is running away with. And you got to give Burke that credit as a character. Just like you got to give David the character of a credit of A, he was a bit psychotic, and B, he's a kid, so his imagination tends to run wild. Is all of it running wild? No, he does talk to the ghost of Josette. That is true. That is not a false imaginative thing. Do I think the ghost of Josette told him about? No, he doesn't say Josette. He says a voice, the voices. Um, again, we never hear those voices. He doesn't say a voice. He says voices. So this is a fun episode, buddy. I'll leave a link in the description. You can go watch it. And what I love most about this episode is the interaction between Carolyn and Burke when he hides David in the room. Carolyn comes into Burke's room and she's there to say about Victoria Winters, and she said, I just offered her a ride, you know. And she goes, oh, of course you did. And, it's a very, we have I guess you can, is this a love triangle? I mean, sure, I guess you could say they're making it one. Carolyn's jealous. I'd say I love Nancy Barrett to death because she really carries the other side of this triangle a lot. I think that's one thing that is the most unsung about her character. The way Nancy Barrett plays Carolyn is gold. True jealous rage of a woman who is infatuated and wants a man that doesn't want her. And it's really well done by Nancy Barrett. It's done. Look, I'm taking nothing away from Mitchell Ryan. He's playing her like a fiddle, but from a character standpoint, there. But you got to give Nancy Barrett credit for selling, and she deserves it. Um, they're having a conversation, and she goes, "What? You got someone in there?" And the door opens, and she goes, "What are you doing here?" Hey, what are you doing here? I came to see my friend Burke. What are you doing here? And Burke's like, your turn. I love the fun Mitchell Ryan is having here, again, with Nancy Barrett's character. And again, Nancy Barrett's character sells, and then she starts to laugh, and you can just tell, it's a sort of fun moment to laugh at because though Burke's teasing her, it's a moment you could sort of smile at and go, okay, this was funny. This was a moment of comedy in DS. It's not big comedy. It's a little light comedy. Especially by the end of this episode, you're going to need this moment to come back to just a bit. Because things are going to get even more hot and heavy by the end of this episode. At Collinwood, we have Roger celebrating about the news that the sheriff declared Bill Malloy's death an accident. And remember, the gossip around town in the prior episode was it's going to be murder. Usually the gossip is not wrong in town. Ask yourself why it's wrong here. It's because the sheriff wanted it to be, because he is still. Notice that is something you got to notice. It's ruled an accidental death, but never is the he never says the case is closed. He says, yeah, that's it. He doesn't say the case is closed. He says, that's it. Those words matter. The case is closed. And again, he doesn't have to announce the case is officially closed. He says, yeah, it's over. Is that telling a white lie? Yeah. Again, he feels he's being deceived, so he needs to let people relax, and maybe they'll slip up. We're gonna find out if that strategy works. We're also, actually, too, this is also the episode where the pen is mentioned. Before you see the pen on the beach, again, because this is not that episode where Victoria is on the beach and discovers the golden pen, this is the episode where Carolyn does mention to Burke about wanting the pen back. Or about the pen being given back to Burke by Roger. And Burke says, I I don't have it. Like, and she goes, what do you mean you don't have it? I don't have it. He never gave it to me. What was the night Bill Malloy died? Because he never gave it to me, and Burke's telling the truth. So this is that episode. This is, as much as we want to talk about the pen being found on the beach, you really got to talk about this episode in its context. This is the episode where Burke is told, hey, I gave my Uncle Roger the pen to give back to you. And guess what? That pen never got back to Burke Devlin. So this is that seed laying I talked about. They're laying that seed right here. It might be, you might say, well, is it late to lay the seed? No, because they haven't showed the pen on the beach yet. If they had showed that pen on the beach and they don't lay the seed here that, hey, it's night Bill Malloy went missing, are they setting up Roger for the fall? Yeah, I bet. Yeah, the writers are doing a good job of keeping Roger as one of as your main suspect. Again, I give Art Wallace and Francis Swan a lot of credit. They were the writers here, not in this well, Art Wallace is in this episode, and I give them, but I give both writers a lot of credit because they do a great job of building more of the mystery. That's another part of DS I love the most. Look, we all know what's gonna happen, but the writers do a hell of a job of building the intrigue here. Okay, we know what happened to the pen. If you've forgotten about it, this was that fancy pen that Burke gave to Carolyn. Then Roger took it from her. He goes, no, you're not. No, you give me that pen. I'm giving it back to him. That's the night Bill Malloy gets murdered. The pen never. By the way, Roger mentions the pen during the meeting that took place. He goes, "Oh, here." He goes, "Oh, I don't have it. I must have left it at the house someplace." And he's talking about the pen, the fountain pen. Again, great. It's a great build-up because, and that's another thing. The pen does get mentioned by the end of the meeting. Go check it out if you don't believe me. What's my favorite part of this? It's coming up actually. Two things. Because Carolyn does not know about Bill Malloy, about that his death was ruled an death by drowning. So a phone call. She makes a phone call, and she gets told the news, and then she delivers the news to Burke. He's in shock. And then he says, just get out of here to the both. Get him out of here, Carolyn. He's meaning David. Really, he's meaning both. Get out. So they leave. And, Carolyn obviously is excited about the news because this means her Uncle Roger's in the clear. It also means Sam Evans is in the clear, by the way. If you're forgetting that Sam is a suspect in this, the only person who they never officially say is a suspect, but he is questioned is Matthew Morgan. Why is Matthew Morgan not made more of a premise if you're getting into a context standpoint? Because he wasn't at the goddamn meeting. He wasn't scheduled to be at that meeting. Sometimes the suspects were shown aren't always the people who were involved in the murder, or it's a little case of writers being misdirected. Writers are like magicians. They will lead you one way while their hand goes the other way. And you gotta love them for it. Art Wallace and Francis Swan. Give credit to Dan Curtis Productions and Cy Thomasoff. Clearly Cy Thomasoff for the set designs. They're beautiful. Burke confronting Sheriff Patterson. The jousting continues between Patterson and Devlin here, and it's more heavier than before. Devlin, and I love what Sheriff Patterson says. Look, he goes, I gave my report to the coroner. The coroner read the facts as he was told them, and he alone made that decision. and it's it's Burke who brings up the point of the Collins control the most votes, they control the town. Well, they don't control me, and you insinuating that because you got to run me out of town, sheriff. Remember, I got a lot of money. I can afford a lawyer. So you get Burke threatening the law, and then Burke makes the ultimate threat. I'm taking off the gloves now, and I don't care who you ever say. And he's meaning that because he's saying it to the sheriff himself. Now, what does that mean? Well, if you've watched DS before, you know Burke's going to talk to uh, Liz's captains. He's going to try to get them to come work for him and take them away from Elizabeth's fishing fleet company, um, the Collins Point Enterprise, if you will, the Collins Cannery. You know, no, that doesn't happen in this episode, but it is coming up. Um, Burke had the the fight has just begun, and really that should be this episode's title. If they ever go back and title these episodes, they should consider some titles for sure. Um, which you gotta love it. You gotta love the character, the building here, what they're doing to these characters. Again, you're keeping the love triangle entrenched with Carolyn. By her, she doesn't just hound Vicky; she hounds Burke, and Burke has his fun with her. And I give credit to Nancy Barrett for selling it all. Great job, great job. Um, so yeah, link to this episode will be in the description box. You can go check it out if you'd like. I'm gonna get another review up for you guys. You guys have a nice day.